Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the February 28th edition of The Fray. My name is Derry. The Fray is a roundtable discussion featuring a rotating cast of characters and returning faces discussing news and views in the fighting community. Joining us tonight, the man they tapped to play the role of Triforce in the upcoming EMP movie, twitter.com/Gutex, Ryan Gutierrez. How are you?
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted. I am doing just fine with my new. Never mind. Yes, I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me back, Derry.
Yeah, absolutely. Joining us all the way from across the pond. It is after 4 in the morning where he is right now. We've got the European spooky himself, James Bardoff, twitter.com/James Bardoff. How are you, James? Welcome to the program.
I'm actually awake, which is good. It's a good start. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome. And then returning to the program after a little bit of an absence, twitter.com/Magus1234. Magus1234. How are you?
Hanging in there, man.
We're all on Sudoku watch right now because apparently Dyrus from League of Legends threatened Ultra David's life today. So
Wait,
I hope
what?
you guys are safe out there today.
I must have missed that.
I was made aware of this like a couple minutes before we went on the air, but apparently there are threats being made. But enough of all that. Last weekend we had the second of the 5 Road to Evolution tournaments, Winter Brawl from the East Coast being broadcast by Team Spooky this weekend, and it was a pretty hype tournament. The most compelling story I thought of the weekend going into Winter Brawl was the potential for a run back between PR Balrog and Chris G and Marvel. PR Balrog won the last Road to Evolution tournament, which was SCR, beating Chris G and setting him out of the tournament. This time around, Chris G was able to return the favor on PR Balrog, defeating him twice. PR Balrog lost only to Chris G. He beat him in top 8 to send him into losers, and then again he beat him in grand finals and took the title. Magus1234, first question to you tonight. At this point, is it becoming an argument where Chris G is a player who is fully in control on home turf with his friends around him in familiar settings, but can't seal the deal when he travels abroad or maybe doesn't have his support crew around him?
Yeah, I think the technical term is Vae's garage syndrome. If you remember, yeah, see, Gutex remembers. If you remember back in like the early days of Wednesday night fights when they were held in like garages and stuff, like he would have random people come over and play him in first to tens, and like everybody said, nobody could beat Vae in the garage. And I think it's pretty similar, you know, when Chris has like all his homies behind him and people to tell him how to play, and they're all rooting for him and talking shit to some other guy who came from, you know, Cali or wherever. It's a lot easier for him. But when he comes to West Coast and everybody's rooting against him, it's, you know, he doesn't play as well.
Top 8, top 3 was Justin Wong. 4 went to Yipes. Gutex, did you catch Yipes losing that match against PR Balrog where he dropped that poison arrow?
I'd stepped out for a second.
Oh,
so
it was a heartbreaker.
That was a tragedy, and that combo was a tragedy. I don't know why he did that combo, but that broke my heart.
Number 5 was taken away, tied Unknown and Marvello. Marvello looking really strong. And then top 7 tied between Green Ace and Flash Metroid. Flash Metroid putting in work and getting better and better. Everybody was a little bit disappointed to see Justin Wong only placing 3rd. A lot of people were saying he had the possibility to be the surprise winner this weekend, considering he was the winner of Marvel at last Winter Brawl. And he's been putting in a lot of work in the game coming into this tournament season, but he only managed to get 3rd, which for most people would be like, holy shit, I got 3rd in a major, but for Justin was a little bit of a disappointment, I would imagine. Excuse me. Street Fighter 4 2012, we had PR Balrog winning that as well. James, did you catch any of Street Fighter 2012?
I saw most of it, yeah, probably up to when I think it was Snake Eyes was in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he placed 5th.
Yeah, when he lost, I was like, you know, when the last Skeef gets eliminated, I boycott the rest of the tournament. So I'm pretty biased.
I respect that. We had PR Balrog taking it over Santhrax, VXG EMP Santhrax in the final, and 3rd place went to, well, at the time, Broken Tier Dominion, but now I guess that's a different story. Justin Wong, Snake Eyes, Ricky Ortiz, Rico Suave, and Vivaldi all putting in work in top 8 in Street Fighter 4. We also had Cross Tekken on the menu. Dominion won the day. Second and third place going to Ricky Ortiz and Chris G. Uh, did you catch any Cross Tekken there, Gutex?
I just saw a little bit of the end. Very impressive play by Dominion.
He's IFC in that game right now. I watched his Raven looking like a brick wall, and it was
Yeah,
Good.
it was pretty good.
Yeah, Cross Tekken is definitely the game to be dominating right now.
right.
After I woke up, that grand final was pretty good, but the rest of it I kind of missed. So
Magus was telling me earlier in the week that he was watching Cross Tekken, and it literally put him to sleep. So.
I'm straight up. I'm just being straight up. Like it just put me to sleep, dude. I'm not like making a joke about the game. It was just I happened to just tell you guys why I didn't make because I was supposed to go hang out with some guys. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
And then we also had Santhrax, Flo, Justin Wong, and Insane in top 8 for Cross Tekken. Tekken Tag 2, we had NYC Fab taking it, holding it down for the NYC. He won first place. And then did you? I actually missed all of Tekken. Magus, did you see any of Tekken this weekend?
Yeah, I saw Fab come back, run it twice. He did really good versus GM, and Fab is just getting better and better. And I think not that everybody wanted Fab to win, but he's definitely a crowd favorite. He's a real humble guy. He's a guy you want to be a champion, and it was sick to see him win. So, and he's getting real slick, and definitely both those guys really wanted it because they wanted that trip to final round, which is going to be like the mecca for Tekken and probably one of the hypest just fighting game tournaments period for Tekken and just in general. So
King of Fighters 13 was taken home by Romance with Renaud putting in work and getting second place. MK, we had Kerbalicious in first place. And then Mewtwo King won every single Smash Brothers anything. I think he won like 4 different Smash Brothers tournaments, and then he just spooged all over the place in celebration. So good for Mewtwo King. All right. The big news coming out of Winter Brawl 7 this weekend. Kevin Landon gives an interview to who did the interview? Jason. Yeah, Jason. Kevin Landon gives,
or still with DMG, not quite sure. Jason LeBoy.
Yeah, Dominion gives an interview to Jason and drops a bomb that he is going to be leaving Broken Tier and joining the Empire Arcadia, which I think caught just about everybody off guard. Magus, what was your initial thought when you heard that Kevin Landon had left Broken Tier to go to the Empire?
I don't, maybe I wasn't as shocked as everybody else, but it's just, Kevin grew up in fighting games, with his brother and all his, all his best friends and stuff, living with a lot of them with Empire. So a lot of his roots and kind of his everything he knows is with them. So it's kind of, when it was proposed to him, I'm sure he just took it up on the offer. And let's be honest, like a lot of these guys aren't like, well versed in how to like discuss an issue coming up about like sponsorships. Like, maybe he's like thinking to himself like, oh man, I really don't want to talk to Kugi about this or something, or, like I don't know what was going through his head. I wasn't shocked about the fact that he stopped being in Broken Tier and wanted to go to Empire again, I guess, but I guess the way he did it could have been a little different.
Right, referring to the fact that apparently, as we later learned that day, Kevin had not spoken to his sponsor before leaving Broken Tier, and apparently Broken Tier was caught completely unaware. We did reach out to Kugi and ask for a statement, and he told us that he bears no malice or ill will towards Kevin Landon and that he wishes him the best of luck. Paul had a little bit of a conversation with us on Skype earlier today where he said that his general philosophy is that he wants to help out the players that he likes. Broken Tier helps out in any way it can, but when it comes time for a lot of these guys to make the jump to a more corporate platform or to maybe start demanding a little bit more money, that's not necessarily something that he can readily match with. It was sort of a similar situation that came up when, when Latif left Broken Tier, where Razer, this big corporate entity, came in and talked to Latif, and with Kugi's blessing, Latif left. So Paul's official statement was that he wishes Kevin the best of luck. He has no ill will towards Dominion or the Empire. He just, he was happy to help out his friend, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We did hear a bunch of other rumors this week. I believe Triforce was on a stream, and he made some claim to the effect that Mike Ross would be joining ranks with the Empire soon, and then I guess that got redacted really quickly. I'm not entirely sure where that stands right now. I guess right now it's not official. No one's come on the record to clear up the record about that, and then there's rumors about other guys coming in down the road. So, Gutex, your thoughts real quick before I don't want to spend too much time on this because we really don't know all the details, but the resurgence of Empire Arcadia, Triforce kind of bringing himself back up by the bootstraps for the umpteenth time. This guy is like Indiana Jones in the refrigerator at this point.
Oh my gosh.
You just can't put him down at all. He will always find a way back. Any surprise at all with the news this weekend?
It was a little surprising, but I mean, you have to remember that Kevin was a part of Empire Arcadia before, and like Andrew mentioned, those, definitely his brother was still a part of Empire, and all the dudes that he grew up with, are part of it. So I think that Empire has had, like a change, maybe like an improvement of their, I don't know, their situation or status or whatever you want to call it. So now they can, make moves like picking up Dominion. So it's good for them.
Well, tonight we have James Bardoff on the program, and James is a streamer and a tournament organizer from the European scene, and we've got James on tonight primarily because we want to talk to him about the European scene and highlight that scene, spotlight some of its players. There's some big tournaments coming up. There's some multimedia endeavors that are being launched right now. But before we get going with all that, James, why don't you just give us a little brief rundown of like the highlights of the European scene right now, the major streams, the major weeklies, the major tournaments. What do you guys got on like the forefront right now?
Okay, well, everything is in flux at the moment actually, because in the UK we had pretty much the only regular live stream as opposed to like an online stream. We had that for like the last 18 months, which was Winner Stays On, run by Logan in London, which I streamed every week. But we have a store in the UK called HMV, which is like a national chain of music and / games. And they recently went, I suppose you guys, it's kind of similar to Chapter 11 over there, but it's called Administration over here. So they had a bunch of stores on the chopping board, including the one that we broadcast from in London, which is one of their two kind of main stores. So that was due to close at the end of March, but they closed all the gaming portions of their stores across the country abruptly with no notice. So we didn't know when we were going to end, but we ended up doing our last broadcast about 3 weeks ago. So I'm not sure what's happening there. So that's kind of the weekly scene. In terms of, I mean, there are other bits here and there, but they're really small streams. So I think the guys in Sweden have a weekly stream. In France, they have weekly online streams. and the main streamer in France is actually half asleep, about a meter away from me. Poor guy. Um, yeah, he's laughing, so he's awake at the moment. Shout outs to Valentin. But in Europe, I pretty much stream all of the major tournaments, at least if there's an English stream. So I'm here in France at the moment to stream World Game Cup. I'm streaming Red Fight District a month from now. I stream DreamHack Summer, Winter, and now DreamHack Valencia in Spain as well. Um, and I'm probably forgetting something. Often Bushido Impact in Paris, um, and some other events here and there. I might be doing one in Portugal later this year, and EGL obviously. I'm head of the fighting games for European Gaming League, so mainly in the UK at the moment. Although they did do an event in Sweden last year as well, and they did Valencia. So the
So
scene
that's a
in
lot, James. You got your hands full.
yeah, and so between doing that, I do a lot of international qualifiers as well. So I always have something in the pipeline. So we were due to do final round qualifiers actually last weekend, but our venue disappeared. So and other things happened as well, which you guys know about, unfortunately.
So James, like, because I was an avid watcher of all the Arm House and the Marvel and Street Fighter 4 tournaments that you guys had weekly. I always watch those. So I'm kind of wondering, like, is there kind of any plans or something happening that you guys are going to kind of regroup, or is there anything happening, or is it just kind of like it closes down and it's like, God damn, that's it, you know?
I don't think it will close down permanently, but really, Logan, the guy who runs that event, which is called Winner Stays On,
Right.
it's down to him to decide on what he's going to do now, in terms of venue and so on. Obviously, I'll be looking as well. There are a few potential options, but I don't know how much he's looked into them at the moment. I've been so busy preparing for this RFD, trying to get the final round qualifier off and launching new websites that I haven't had much time to talk about it or do much. But I think for the moment, options are still being considered. I think for me, it's more viable to move to a monthly format on like a Saturday, and I think it would be better for. I think it would be more accessible to not just people around the UK, because we like Manchester, for example, is a 4-hour drive or 2 hours on the train, and we've had people come down from there to play on a Tuesday, to play Street Fighter, which is nuts. So I think if it was like monthly on a weekend, then it would be more accessible to the whole country.
Yeah, you get bigger numbers that way too.
Exactly, yeah. Although we were limited by the place we had. I know Haunts was there, so he could tell you we had a maximum of 4 setups there, and but we did pretty well for what we had. But that's why we could only do one game a night. But if we had a different venue, like where we did the Shadaloo Showdown qualifier, we had I think 24 setups there, and so there's a lot more we can do in a bigger venue. So it has its plus points in that sense and minus points in that we had no real warnings that it was going to disappear. So for now, there's nothing, but hopefully soon there'll be something back again.
Gutex, what are your thoughts, touching briefly on something that James was talking about, on revitalizing flagging scenes by taking weeklies and transforming them into monthlies, or just basically scaling things back a little bit to give people breathing room or time to regroup? What are your thoughts on something like that?
I think it makes a lot of sense, like especially when you consider the focus of most of the players. You have a percentage of the player base that's really committed to playing in tournaments and improving themselves and, being the best. But that's, in my mind, kind of a smaller minority of the players. The vast majority of the players, I think, are playing mostly like for fun, as like a social thing. So if you make it if you make it a monthly thing, then you kind of prevent a little bit of the burnout that you could experience from players, having the cost of, paying the venue fee, paying the tournament entry fee, paying the cost of transportation, whether they're driving or taking the train or whatever, and then like eating. It's like not like what are you gonna do? Like bring a sandwich or something. So that stuff can get expensive week to week. But if you make it a monthly thing, then people have more time to kind of prepare for it.
James, you mentioned the website when you were speaking earlier. Why don't you give us a rundown on what you've got going on there?
Yeah, just before I get to that, to add to Ryan's point, I think there's something to be said for overexposure, at least to your local scene. And I think one issue you have over time is that if you run a weekly tournament and it's same time every week without fail, people get used to it, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's there next week, I can come next week, and so on. So some people won't come as often as they otherwise would, but I think it keeps people hungry as well if it's not as common as every week. But yeah, so we've basically never had a real, in terms of websites, we've basically never had a real hub for the European scene. There's never been like a central place for people to find out where tournaments are happening, or have a base to go and find out about scenes in their country, or if they want to travel on the European circuit, or even if they want to see how, say, European players are doing in foreign countries when when someone goes to a final round or whatever. I think like if you look at Shoryuken, it's kind of made to be kind of a global site, but really it's a North American site with bits here and there and corners for other territories. So really there was no existence for Europe in its own right. So I decided to make a website. I tried to push others previously because I didn't want to be the one crutch for the whole scene. I think it needs more people doing different things here and there, but I ended up feeling like I had to make one because there was nothing that existed that was what I think the scene needed. So I made a hub for Europe for people to come as a source of primary information for our continent.
I am definitely probably among the majority of people in saying that I'm somewhat ignorant of the majority of the players in Europe. Magus1234, you keep up a little bit with the European Marvel scene, though. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite players from over in that area?
Yeah, I really like Zach, the Firebrand player, Zach Bennett. He's really good. How to Read's really good. Joe player. There's some up and comers. Cheese Wizard, Chrome. There's a lot of good players there. It still bugs me that a lot of the kind of like the general group of guys that play there, like the team choice is kind of like SoCal-y, like it's just kind of all over the place. I wish, they would step it up a little, step up the tier game a little, just grind it out a little more. I know Combo Fiend went over there recently and he just like bopped everybody. I don't even know if people got games on him. So, it's just, I'd like to see him get a little better at the game. I know they have killers in Street Fighter 4, like, the obvious players, F-Word and Ryan Hart. So they have really good Street Fighter 4 players. I'd like to see them, bring the same competitive level that they have in Street Fighter 4 to Marvel, though. And I know it's hard because they don't have any established kind of like MVC2 players who've been around for like a decade to bring that OG knowledge or anything, but I think they have a really good group of guys, and if they have somewhere to play weekly or monthly, as James is saying, they can continue to step it up. But and none of them really came to Evo either, which kind of made me sad. But I know it cost a shitload of money to get there, so it's it's understandable.
Well, James, when you have players traveling to the U.S., such as Zach Bennett, who Magus mentioned, Zach used to go to Arms House. And he traveled to Evolution, and he spent a lot of time at Fighting Game TV when he was out there, and he played a lot on their stream. When he comes back, or when you have your players coming abroad and then they come back to your scene, do you see any improvement in their game, or do you even see like a boost in the stream numbers at all? Like when Zach goes to FGTV House and they get a chance to see his Firebrand in action, and then he comes back to Arms House, does that help your viewership at all?
Yeah, I think the momentum after Curly Mustache, especially when you saw like Zach's Wolverine combos, and things that they had not seen before, and they were like, "Holy crap!" and going nuts. Then definitely people tune in and they want to see Zach. I think the gay audience increased significantly as well. He seems to have probably the biggest gay following in the
Zach?
FGC. Yeah, yeah.
I believe it.
He's a handsome guy.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, when he was on FGTV, they were just mad homo chat in the I haven't seen anything like it, so it was quite amusing. But no,
You haven't been to San Francisco.
yeah, when Zach's on the stream, it's people definitely tune in because he's an established player now. People know who he is, so they definitely want to go and see, when they know he's on, there's definitely a lot more interest. So.
Why do you think that the Marvel scene isn't as strong in Europe as, let's say, the Street Fighter 4 scene is?
I think you guys got a lot more momentum when the game came out because I think it was quite sandwiched in between Arcade Edition and Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and also so like over here because it's quite broken up. And a lot of scenes aren't established offline. Like if you look at France, for example, they have 2 arcades in Paris, and they have scenes around there. And like Kayane, she runs offline sessions for games as well, and they've got a lot of offline things going on there. And they used to have monthly tournaments for like 5 games at once, Bushido Impact, which I used to stream. But the rest of the country is largely online, and I think. There haven't been that many large-scale, like international offline tournaments for it. Like we've had a few big ones in the UK, but like if you look at the last Bushido Impacts, we had 15 guys come from the UK for Marvel, and there were less people in a tournament from France than there were from the UK, for example. So you had it's very broken up. So like there's a relatively big scene in Portugal, but they haven't really traveled. They're not really tournament circuit yet. I think if they had exposure, if the English went over there, then maybe they'd understand and what it's like on the tournament circuit and come out. But like Holland, there's one player I know of that comes on the circuit, Takari, who will be here at World Game Cup, and the numbers aren't huge, I don't think, for this weekend. So I think it's just the geographical challenge is greater for Marvel 3, which didn't really have an established Marvel 2 scene like America did. So there's like a natural progression over there on your side of the of the world, but over here we didn't have that natural progression from Marvel 2 to Marvel 3. I mean, we did in London, but on a continental scale, it really wasn't there. So in terms of serious players, I think it's still very much an emerging game. So I think in terms of what Majors was saying earlier about the skill level, I think it's important for the players that they get to play more than just themselves, because obviously if you're just playing your own group of friends, I think you can only grow so far, and you need to have that experience of traveling and playing new players and different styles, etc. And they're definitely, like, the London guys are definitely on it, but then we have, because of Winner Stays On, we have a really established scene, and they've had a good scene to get to the level that they're at. But I think to go past that, I think one part of it's training mode, and the other part of it is building an established scene around Europe. I think we have a good opportunity to do that this year. We've got Red Fight District coming up in pretty much a month from now, or 3 weeks from now, and there's a lot of them are going to that for Marvel. So if we can keep that momentum going, then hopefully we can raise the bar this year. But we'll have to wait and see.
Is Marvel at WGC?
Yeah.
Do you have
Do you?
numbers? Do you have the numbers for Marvel and
I
Street Fighter 4?
I don't have the numbers. I was talking to people on WhatsApp, and I think they said there were only about 60 people for Marvel.
Yeah.
For Street Fighter 4, there's a huge bracket, like it's like a final round size bracket. So there's definitely more than 100 people. I don't know if it's more than 200, but we'll find out tomorrow. They're online somewhere, but I don't know where. They've been published with TO tournament organizer, so I think they're just publishing the pictures of the bracket by Twitter or something.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. But I mean, you could definitely tell because the Street Fighter 4 players coming out of your area are world class, you know, and they could compete anywhere. So I think it makes it a lot easier if you're in that area to look at the game and kind of be like, well, if I play Street Fighter 4, I could really gauge where I'm at worldwide. As opposed to Marvel, you're kind of you know, you're unsure of your competition and what you'd actually be able to accomplish.
Yeah, I think Street Fighter 4. I mean, we all know what it did when it came out. It had the same effects here that it did over there,
Yeah.
and the net code's fairly good on that game. So we had a humongous scene for it all over the place. Whereas Marvel, I'd say, is still an emerging game. It's still, you know, you still have to kind of pry people's copy of Street Fighter 4 out of their bleeding hands and get them to try another game, and then, you know, the minority will stick to it and then enjoy the game. But it is growing. It is definitely growing, and I think the exposure that the game gets for Europeans in big events like World Game Cup, Red Fight District will encourage people who are playing the game to play harder and get on the tournament circuit, and other people to try the game as well when they see their compadres coming out and playing the game. So,
Ryan, I know that you traveled abroad with Cross Counter in the past. I know I've seen you report from Singapore. Did you ever get a chance to travel to Europe?
Yeah, I got to go to Europe for DreamHack in 2010 over in Sweden, and that was actually where I met James.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh my god, DreamHack is such an experience. There is literally nothing like that over here. Unfortunately, I haven't been to the UK yet, but I don't know, man. Like everybody, it just seems like there's not as many players over there, and I don't really quite understand why.
James, are there any games over there that are maybe more popular than what we have over here? Like, are there some games that are like the Europeans really are into that maybe the rest of us just don't see that much?
I think it's largely the same lineup of games. Like KOF is big in France, especially. Soul Calibur is probably bigger here, or was bigger here than it is in America. But I think it's kind of fallen off in Soul Calibur 5. Like Soul Calibur 4 was huge before Soul Calibur 5 came out. Although I think it's we'll see how big it is this year. There's a lot of Japanese here on their own dime for Soul Calibur, so hopefully it'll have a big turnout. But I think I'd say mainly Street Fighter 4, Marvel, KOF, Tekken. Tekken is similar here to how it is over there. They are kind of separated from the rest of the scene and do their own thing. So like the biggest Tekken tournaments are kind of just Tekken tournaments for the most part. But I think it's the same lineup of games, but definitely, whereas America is one landlocked country, Europe, we have so many language barriers, which English is a bridge of. But you know, there's people within the European Union, there's people outside the European Union as well, which makes it a bit more difficult. But in terms of live events and travel can be expensive as well, especially if you're going to like the UK. So there are pockets of people here and there, and events like World Game Cup are where you mostly find them all coming together. This is like the biggest event of the year in terms of Europe fighting game events in terms of numbers, normally.
Magus, are there any American players that you could see going over to Europe and really doing well over there? Any players that you would like to see go fight at DreamHack or at WGC?
Is there any American players I think they would do well over there? Like
Yeah, for
any
sure.
top, like any top player? No offense, James, but I think any good player goes over there, they'll probably do pretty good. Obviously in Marvel they'll win, no problem.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
I'm referring to more to Street Fighter 4 here.
In Street Fighter 4 is tough because they have a lot of, I mean, they have a lot of strong players, man, and I don't know how, like our marquee name guys, besides like Dominion and PR Rog, I'm not sure like how focused they are on Street Fighter 4 right now. So, I mean, I know they all play it still, but like I look at the UK guys and they are specialists in that game. Like a variety of them are, and it's like if I saw like Ricky go over there, like. And he ran into, Problem X or Elion or Ryan Hart, like it would be a toss up. So,
I think in terms of Street Fighter 4, our players have a lot more exposure to the wider international scene and a lot more experience, and I think that's quite important. Whereas the Marvel guys are, I would say, relatively new. So if someone comes over here with like a goofy team, for example, they're going to get blown up because they're not going to know what to do about it. But as far as Street Fighter 4 goes, we will body most of your guys, to be honest.
I don't know about that, but I think it'll be interesting. Like Alion, he did pretty good versus Ricky, but I like PR Rog and Justin versus most of the people over there. I would probably say I would bet on US, of course.
James, do you feel like there's a sense of frustration over there when it comes to this sort of perception that American players don't travel to Europe when we have top Japanese players traveling to Europe, mainland Asian players traveling to Europe, players from outside of the from South America, from Mexico traveling to Europe. It seems like everywhere but America, especially in Street Fighter, is traveling to Europe. DreamHack is drawing some big names every year. And WGC has some top-level Japanese talent coming over. Do you think there's this frustration amongst European players that they can't really seem to gain the attention of the Americans as much as they seem to have, because like you said, there's Japanese players flying out to Europe to play Soul Calibur on their own dime. There are there's Asian players coming to Europe to play Street Fighter. Why is it that you think the American players really haven't looked at Europe as a place to travel to yet?
I don't know. Maybe they're afraid of the food, which is mainly good for London. Maybe exception here and there, but it's not that bad. But other than that, I think the main issue for Americans is the cost of flying over here, and I mean PR Balrog actually he came to London for a tournament. He should have gone to World Game Cup, but never mind. But I think the main thing is the cost. Like it's not cheap to come over here from America, and I think really, I think American players for the most part are going to need a sponsor and big money on the line. Like Justin Wong's toyed with the idea of coming to a DreamHack here and there, but either there's been a clash. I think the last one that had like $10,000 was on the same weekend as CEO. So I think part of it will be timing and part of it will be funds to travel. Traveling off your own dime from America, isn't going to be cheap. That's going to be a lot of your capital. And if you come away empty-handed, when you could have gone to spend $200 on a flight to wherever in America, then I can see why it's difficult because they have so much going on in their own country, and obviously I don't think Japan is comparable because it's kind of the motherland, and loads of people in the fighting game community have hard-ons for Asian girls as well. So I guess there's that draw. But in terms of frustration from a European point of view, I don't know that there is. I think they're more concerned with going to America and blowing up your guys on their home turf than they are with you guys coming over here. because I think the platform is bigger over there, and so is the viewership. So yeah, I think that they're more on invading your country than you invading ours. Obviously, we'd like to see the bigger players at events like World Game Cup, etc. But yeah, I think in terms from a player point of view, they're definitely more concerned with going over there. Like every time season B things comes around, people are looking at going to that.
Yeah, but
And
like you
I'm
said, the flights are just so damn expensive. Like, I mean, even just flying from here to like New York costs so much, and it's ugh, you know.
yeah,
And imagine like the top players kind of predicament where they're like, I could go to a European event, but it's not free that I would win, and it's gonna cost me like 1,200 to fly over there or something. So it's kind of tough. Like, it would almost be better if you guys were shittier, but your players are pretty good. So it's so it's like it's actual
I
predicament for
like
them.
how you said shittier as opposed to shit. Like
Yeah, let's throw that out there.
if they were even worse, then maybe
Yeah.
they'd come out marvelous. Yeah, I think for the most part they want invitations, and even then some guys are like they want money on top of that, and we know it's not about that. Not for us anyway. So, um,
Well, that's that.
but yeah,
Hold on. Let me stop you there. Do you think that maybe the esports style mentality of the fight, because DreamHack is a big esports event. Make no mistake. That's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, esports style event in the world. But the esports style mentality that has slowly filtered into the fighting game community, where players are now, they have sponsors and they make money, and some of them have a salary, and some of them are, it's becoming, for at least a handful of top players, it's becoming very corporate. Um, that's not really happened over there yet, has it?
not really. No, I mean, are you talking from a player point of view?
Yes, from a player point of view.
Yeah, I. The thing is, I don't know how much of the esports mentality in America is actually esports and not smoke and mirrors. Like over here, really, it's not that esports. Like in terms of players, you have a handful of players on esports teams, and I think the same is can be said over there actually. Like Zach is on Dignitas, and you've got Western Wolves, I suppose, which are basically an esports team as well. Western Wolves / Slowland Lions. Other than that, I might be missing someone, but I don't think there's many others. But there isn't really an esports mentality, like in with negative connotations over here. So no, I think we're pretty healthy and pretty grassroots. Although I think the esports over here is grassroots as well. Like DreamHack is a grassroots thing. It's entirely owned by those guys, and they're completely crazy in a good way. Whereas like MLG is VC esports,
Right. Right. Right.
but DreamHack kind of exists in its own right, and started out as a LAN, and esports is like an addition to that. So it's a kind of natural growth of an organic thing. So I think it works differently over here. But yeah, from a player point of view, I mean, I think the focus has changed with some top players to like get that money, which is fine. But they're not like holding out for appearance fees like some Americans are.
Oh, dang. Gutex, do you feel like maybe Europe is sort of unmined, pristine frontier country for esports teams or for professional gaming squads that are maybe looking to pick up some new market ability, or some players that could make a big splash?
It could be. It just depends on like the visibility of the European players. I mean, most of them aren't doing as much, at least as far as I can tell. They're not doing as much to market themselves as like a lot of the American players are. Like you have guys like PR Rog and Justin and Champ streaming, pretty regularly, but I don't really see like, I mean, where is the Zach Bennett stream? You know, so Europe may be a little bit behind on like the content aspect of things.
I would totally watch that, by the way.
No, he's godlike. I watched Zach. I was actually at FGTV House when Zach was in America,
That was
and I just
sick.
sat. I just sat and watched him play for hours, like
Yeah.
in amazement. Like he was doing something new, like every 5 to 10 minutes. It was just amazing. I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh yeah, no, that's the only point I was gonna make. I mean, if you can be more valuable because you have more visibility, then you're more appealing to potential sponsors.
Magus, are you surprised at all to see that in an environment where the primary amount of players are involved online because of the restrictions of geography? Most of the action over there takes place on the internet, and yet these guys aren't streaming. They're not. I mean, like, are you? Like they have this really weird hybrid scene over there? It seems where it's very grassroots, get your friends together and play where you can, or have an event, go to an event. We're more concerned about fighting games. We don't give a crap about sponsors. We're not trying to sell ourselves. But they do most of the stuff they do online. Like, do you have any, like, why do you think that they seemingly are stuck in this middle ground between the 90s and today?
I don't think they're stuck. I think that's just kind of where they're at. Like it's not, it's not such like a run for fame type game that it is over here, where it seems like a lot of players, want to stream and get their name out there, and for whatever reason, like they just want to be known, they want to be seen and get a name for themselves. And I think in the UK they just want to get better, like they want to play, and maybe it's just, maybe it's just not as big, like or whatever. So I just, different area and different interests.
You
I
think
think
maybe we need a little bit of that over here? Maybe a little less worry about the fame and a little bit more worry about just leveling shit up?
I mean, I have no idea. Like, it depends what you want. Like, do you want your players to get better? Do you want them to pursue kind of different levels for the fighting game community? Like, I don't know. It depends what you want, because a lot of people say, like, when you refer back to eras like Third Strike, CVS 2, Marvel 2, like, a lot of people prefer that it was kind of more underground, and it was more like just do your weeklies. You're not worried about like a camera in front of you all the time while you're playing, and nobody cares about that. But some people want to see, Street Fighter games in a bigger light. So I don't know. It's just, depends where you are.
I think it's less business oriented in Europe. Like if you look at America, like you look at New York, for example. There's a lot or a bunch of people who live on fighting games and so on, and that's not the aim for most people. I mean, there's a very small pocket of people who may or may not do that. But I don't think it's really viable to support yourself in Europe only by playing fighting games. So I think the target for players is different over here to what it might be for the top players over there. Like American players may be looking to get sponsored and salaried on an esports team or whatever, but I don't think that's a goal for many players over here. A lot of them are studying and do other things like I don't do fighting games full time. I have a job. I could never. I'd be homeless if I only did streams, etc. So I think there is a different mindset in here. So I don't think you could like copy and paste a scene from Europe to America or vice versa. So I don't know that being a personality is a big. I mean, people want to be. They want to be known for winning tournaments first, rather than streaming and all that kind of stuff. So I know some people are, they'd like to be on a team where they get their travel paid for and so on, which is cool. But so I guess in that sense, they don't know how to go about it, or they haven't got the cash to get streaming stuff or the desire. But also it's hard, I think, unless you establish yourself as a force in tournaments the way Zach has.
It's hard to
It's
get
going to
any
be hard.
pull.
It's hard to get any viewers. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
get.
but
If Joe
James,
Bloggs,
is there a grassroots sense? Like, I'll tell you, when I was playing and I still do in a sense, well, not as much anymore, but because other people are doing it. But when I started playing in Street Fighter 4, I was really going out there and trying to find people to play and find places we could all meet up. And I don't even know these people, and there's still a sense of that today happening. And Champ is doing a lot of it, and the FGTV guys are doing a lot of it, and Terry's like, organizing and trying to get people together. But is it kind of less personal over there? Like, is it less, in the sense where you have people just going out there and making things happen? Like, are there people out there doing that?
Well, I before I started streaming and stuff, I used to go to almost every like medium to large size tournament in Europe. Like just everywhere. I was all over the place because I understood the importance of getting experience against different players and so on.
Right.
So definitely there are people who travel. A lot of the UK guys travel to continental Europe, but in continental Europe itself, where it's easier, people get to train to different countries. I think where a game is newer and fresher now, you're more likely to get travel. So, like Marvel, people, the small pocket of hardcore Marvel players that there are will make the effort to travel from place to place as much as their finances will let them. Whereas with an older game like Street Fighter 4, people who used to travel and you used to see them at every DreamHack and every Bushido Impact and every EGO in London and so on may not travel so much because the game is older.
Right.
But there are definitely people, you know, um, making an effort and getting everywhere. You have got like people who do news sites as well in their own countries. Like you have hitcombo.com and .net in France and different things for different countries. So yeah, and you've got communities who are putting things together to send their players out. Like the Swedish guys have a player, one specific player they've sent out to World Game Cup, and they're all behind him in the same way that Xian was sent from Singapore to DreamHack when Gutex was here. So yeah, there is a lot happening in that regard.
That's good.
So, James, give us a little bit of a plug for WGC, and I'll let your next big event coming up.
Okay, well, yeah, World Game Cup is from tomorrow. It starts in like 6 hours. Better get some sleep. In Cannes, it's honestly, this place is amazing. Even if you're not that good at fighting games, like because it's in Cannes on the beach, and you got the beach, you got French women, and it's in the Festival of Games as well, which is like a huge event. It's got loads of anime stuff. There are Xbox and PlayStation exhibitions. There are board games and other weird things. It's a really, really big event. Interestingly, it's not going to be on my stream, my own channel this year, which is Arms House, because they have World Game Cup have a partnership with Daily Motion, so it's going to be on Daily Motion. Although the official link is gamecult.com with a K /live. So if you go there tomorrow, you'll see the events. But outside of that, it will, events will normally be on Arms House. So twitch.tv /Arms House is where you can find all the other major streams in Europe. So Red Fight District, I'm sure all of you have seen that trailer now, which is the best trailer ever. No one has ever beaten that trailer. I'm sorry.
No, that's
and every time someone puts a trailer on, I'm just gonna spam it with, I'm gonna let you finish. But this is the best trailer of all time. Anyway, so we've got Red Fight District coming up soon. We'll have 3 DreamHacks this year, hopefully. I'm still waiting for confirmation of the lineup for DreamHack Summer, so we'll see what's going on there. But yeah, if you are from Europe as well or interested in the European scene, then the website I've launched is eufighters.com. It's still in beta phase at the moment, but there's also an Android app available for it. So just search EU Space Fighters on the Play Store, and you will get there's a dedicated app for the website. There'll be one on iOS soon as well, but I need to pay that $100 developer cost first, which is BG's, man. But never mind. Yeah, I think that's most of the plugging done, really.
All right, so make sure you guys catch WGC starting this weekend at Twitch, or it's Daily Cult with a K.com /
Game Cult, damn it.
Daily, sponsored by Daily Motion, gamecult.com / Live.
live.
Yes. And then RFD will be on twitch.tv/armshouse. If you guys haven't subscribed to Arms House, make sure you do on Twitch. Give them CPM. We got to
Yeah.
give out as many CPMs as possible. The fighting game community got to come together to machine gun CPMs at Europe. So that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week. We broadcast every week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, although on James's watch, it's about 5 a.m. So we appreciate him coming out with us tonight, talking about the European scene, giving us some insight into the streams, the tournaments, the players over there. Thanks again, James.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And you guys can follow him on Twitter at twitter.com/James Bardoff. Thank you to Gutex for joining us. He's a regular on our program. We always enjoy having him. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You can follow Gutex on Twitter at twitter.com/Gutex. And Magus1234, it's good to have you back, man.
It's good to be back.
You can follow Magus on twitter.com/Magus1234. Once again, my name is Darian. This is the Fray for February the 28th, 2013.
Yo, Fray!